All right, for this project, we are going to be using Cricut Joy Extra. You can use another Cricut machine if you want to. Just keep in mind, if you do the Cricut Joy, you may have issues weeding your design because it is going to be very small and some of those pieces can be really thin and difficult to cut and weed with your machine. So just keep that in mind. We're going to be applying our design to a little box that I got from the Dollar Tree. There are several different styles on the side. Some of them are just open. This is the one that I'm going to be using today. And we're going to measure the box so that we know how big to make this design for the top. So this one is 6.75 by 4.75. And I'll show you in Design Space how to make a guide for this and how to make sure that your design is going to work properly with your project. So I have my standard grip mat, transfer tape. I'm going to be painting my box with white acrylic paint. This is just an old bristle brush. My brayer, my weeding tools. This is a sanding block that we're going to use after we paint our box and it dries. You need to make sure that you get the top of your box nice and smooth so your vinyl will stick. The squeegee for helping to apply our vinyl. This is a piece of parchment paper. I'm going to use that to help line up my design. Got adhesive vinyl, yellow, brown, black, burgundy, green, and 2 different colors of orange. But I think that's it, so let's go ahead and get started and I'll show you how to get this all sized up and ready to go in Design Space. Okay, so before we jump into Design Space, I'm going to go ahead and paint my box. I'm a very messy crafter, so I'm going to put some gloves on. I always seem to get it all over me. I'm not going to paint the inside, I'm just going to do just the outside. Okay, so let's go ahead and let that dry and we'll get everything else ready to go. Okay, so here we are inside of Cricut Design Space, and this is how the SVG is going to look when it lands on your canvas. So the first thing I want to do, like I showed you how to measure your box, I'm going to bring in a shape that's going to represent the size of that box. I'm going to unlock this and I'm going to put in the size that I measured my box, 6.75 by 4.75. And then I'm going to change this to a guide so we can see through it. Okay, move this over here and I'm going to shrink down my size here, my SVG. Let me send this to the back. Okay, let's make this a little bit closer so you can see it better. All right. And I'm just going to go ahead and make this a little smaller to fit inside of here and see what looks good. Grab both and center. Maybe just a little bit bigger. Okay, so that looks good for me. I'm going to go ahead and use that size. So now I'm going to take this guide and I'm just going to hide it because we don't need it anymore. So now, if you've followed me for a while, you know I like to explain why I do the things I do with the designs. So I want to show you. I'm going to go ahead and ungroup this. If you look in your layers panel, you can see this is the black, which is hay, and then it's actually the top of the pumpkins right here. You drop that down, you can see they are grouped, but all of these things here are not attached. And the reason that I did that, if you decided that you wanted to put this on something bigger, like let's say you have a bigger size box or canvas or whatever it is that you're going to put it on, I did not attach anything, so that way you could ungroup them and move them around. So let's say your box or your canvas is going to be bigger. If you wanted to make more leaves to duplicate and put around, you could. You could make this word down here bigger. You could actually take this out and put a different word in. That's why I did not attach anything. They are grouped, but they are not attached. And what I mean by that is, if you were to go to make this right now, let's go ahead and save this so we don't forget. Hey, pumpkin project. So if you were to make this right now, all of your mats, all of your little pieces are all over the place because they are not attached. But if we go back and we attach certain things, they will cut together. So just for example right here, let me make sure I have everything ungrouped. And I do. Okay, so let's go ahead and attach the black and I'll show you what the difference is. So we attach that. Now if we go to make it, this will cut together. So that's all going to cut as one piece. Okay, so there are a few things in here that I want to attach and some that really are not as important. And just by attaching them doesn't mean that they need to stick together. If you decide later that you want to cut them as you're applying them, you can do that because I have done that as well. So for my orange, if we go ahead and hide this, you can see what all the orange is. And another thing too, if you decide that you don't want to do 3 different colors, like I have right now, I've got burgundy, I have 3 different colors of orange. If you want them all to be the same color orange, you can do that too. That's personal preference, whichever way you like it. But I'm going to go ahead with this orange and I'm going to attach that. Okay, don't freak out, it's still there. We're just going to send that to the back. Okay, and the brown, I'm going to do the same thing. That is all the little stems here and the tops of the pumpkins. So let's attach that. The burgundy pieces, I'm going to attach that. And let's see, what else do we have? Little pieces of the yellow leaves right here. You don't have to attach those. They're actually, you'd be wasting vinyl in there, and because the pieces are actually small enough that you can place them, you don't have to bother to attach those. This is the little dots and the word pumpkin. I'm going to attach that. And what else do we have here? The stems. You don't have to attach those either because, like I said, those are small enough that you can place them. I don't think they're going to give you an issue. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and group everything again. And another thing that I like to do, I am somebody who is very visual. I can tell myself that I've measured my box and I have my guide there and I can go ahead and center it. But something else that I like to do, I like to make a print of this. And by that, what I mean is, hide this again, I'm going to duplicate this. And I'm going to come up here and I'm going to turn this into a print and cut and flatten it. And I'm going to print this out from my printer. So yes, I might be wasting a piece of printer paper and some ink, but I would rather waste that than have my size not be correct for the project that I'm going to put it on and end up wasting vinyl. So this is just something else that I do. It also helps with when I go to add my vinyl to my project, I can remember if I have an issue, which way my leaves are supposed to go and which way, you know, where they get placed. So that's just another thing that I do that helps. It's one less thing that my brain has to think about. So it helps with placement. It helps with the size of your project. And I'm going to go ahead and print that out. And then I'll show you in the tutorial when we put everything together what I mean and how it looks. Okay, so to do that, this is the print and cut. Now I don't have to worry about cutting it out with the Cricut. I'm actually just going to cut it out with my paper cutter so that I get the correct size. But this is going to be what it looks like. Just hit continue, send to your printer. You don't have to have a bleed on there. Just make sure that your correct printer is selected. And this is just going to print from my regular printer. So yes, we want to cancel that. Cancel that. So I'm just going to hide that. So now let's go ahead and save this again. So make sure my correct machine is selected. I'm using my Joy Extra. Click Make. And now you can see all the different mats. So one other thing I like to do is I like to combine as many elements as I can to one mat, meaning I don't want to have to put the mat in several different times. So up here I have a piece of black vinyl, and then I will go through and I will move this down to here. And the reason that I'm moving it is when you go to move this object and I put it on this mat, it won't land right on top of what was already here. It'll land right where you moved it to. So I would have a piece of black vinyl here. This one's going to be brown. I'm just going to go grab this one here, highlight both of them, move object, and see how it landed right there? Both of those, and move them right down here. So I just have to remember where to put my vinyl. I like to, as I'm loading it into my machine, I will come over and look on my screen to see how big a piece of vinyl I need so I can cut that down so that it's the correct size. But that's what I'm going to cut first. And you always want to remember too, if you are moving things around, keep in mind when you go over to your cut screen that you have the correct mat selected. So if you've just been working on this one and moving things around, but you think that you're going to be cutting black because it's the first one, just remember which one is highlighted. That's the one that's going to cut. So I'm going to be using the permanent vinyl. You can browse on materials if you don't know how to get to that. And you can find vinyl here and scroll through what you like. Now, the one that I'm going to be using works best with my machine, but you use whichever one works best for you. I'm going to use this one here. I have it bookmarked, that's why it was there. I'm going to be doing, remember, material settings. I don't need to do more pressure, but if you feel like you need to do more pressure, you can click that right here. I'm going to go ahead and get these cut, and then we'll get it all weeded, and I'll show you how to put it all together. All right, there's the first 3 colors. I use my brayer to make sure that my vinyl is stuck good to my mat. This helps with better cuts. Go ahead and get this one cut. Go ahead and unload this and pull our vinyl off. It's best to turn your mat over and roll your vinyl off. Alright, got all our vinyl cut, so we're going to go ahead and get it all weeded. Always remember to go slow as you're pulling it up. Don't want to lose any of your pieces. This is the one that you kind of need to be careful with because some of these pieces are really tiny. So just make sure you go really slow. And just push them down as you go. And if they move placement, you can just remember that you need to fix that before you lay it all down. Okay, this is the picture that I printed out. I showed you in Design Space how I did that with the print and cut. I just printed it out to make sure that it was going to fit on my box correctly and make sure that it was the right placement. But I'm also going to use this as a guide for when I put my pieces on my box if I need to move anything. Like some of the little pieces like with the stems here, because they shifted a little bit, I may want to put those on individually instead of putting them all at the same time, but we'll figure that out as we go. So I'm going to go check my box to see if it's dry, and if it's not, I'm going to hit it with a hair dryer to get it to dry a little bit faster. Okay, here's my box. I did have to hit it with my hair dryer just to get it to dry completely. I'm just going to take a little sanding block, and all I'm going to do is very lightly just go over the top of this. And all I'm doing is I want to make sure that this is smooth, because when you put your vinyl down, you want to have a smooth surface to get it to stick to, and also make sure after you sand it, take a paper towel, just a dry paper towel, and just wipe off any particles. Because any particles that are left on here from when you're sanding are going to show underneath your vinyl. You're going to see little bumps under there, and you don't want that. So just make sure after you sand it, you wipe it down good. All right, that feels good, so let's go ahead and get our vinyl applied. All right, I'm going to put down the orange first. That's going to go on here. And I'm going to use my parchment paper to help me line up some of my elements. Transfer tape. Turn this over, and I'm going to use my tool to help burnish this a little bit. careful when you're pulling back. You want to get this to release. You want to roll this back instead of pulling it up. So just make sure that your vinyl sticks to your transfer tape as you're coming back here. Okay. I don't know if you can see, I have little pieces of my backing that's stuck to it. I'm just going to go in with my weeding tool and pull that off. I'm not sure why that does that sometimes. It may be because I'm a basement crafter and it's a little more humid in my room. I don't know if you can hear I have a humidifier that runs, or dehumidifier that runs all the time. But sometimes I think that's why it happens on some of the vinyl that I have. But it's not a big deal. Just pull that little piece off of there. You can see. Okay, good to go. Make sure there's none of those pieces sticking on your transfer tape. Okay, and this is another area where that printed paper comes out good. So I can see where I kind of want to line up my pumpkins. Since I have another piece going underneath it, so I'm going to lay this here to where I think it looks good. And I'm just going to put this on top of here just to help me line it up a little. I'm going to use this like this. And this is just, like I said, to help with placement. And you need to shift it a little bit because it's not even on the bottom. Carefully just move it a little here. Okay, lift this up. Actually, I want to take both of these out of here, so be very careful. I like to kind of pick this up and put my transfer tape over here just to kind of keep a grip on it, and then move these out. Okay, and then remember, when you roll your transfer tape back, you don't want to pull up, you want to roll. Keep be mindful of all your little pieces so they don't come up when you're pulling it. Okay, so there's one layer down. Now I'm going to use this to put the black on. Same thing as before. I'm going to put this on the parchment paper, and it's just going to help me line it up here. Stick your transfer tape to your box, and then we're going to pick this up and move your parchment paper out. Okay, and again, carefully pull up your transfer tape. I'm going to get another piece of transfer tape because that one was kind of beat up. I'm going to do pumpkin next. Cut this down because I'm going to use that also. I missed my pieces on my pumpkin, so I need to weed those out. The trick is you want to try and keep some of the parchment paper lower than your transfer tape, so that helps when you go to stick it on here. So this, by looking at my picture here, I can see it kind of helps to line things up a little bit. Push that transfer tape down, pull that out, and then just roll that down. Alright, and next we have this one. Okay, for this You could actually apply these individually, and I think I'm going to with this one, just because the pieces are so little. So I'm going to cut this. Maybe just make it easier if we did it this way. So basically just pick them up just like a little sticker. If you need to watch your design, you can. I actually could take both of these . And there we go. What do you think, guys? If you like it, please drop a comment down below. Let me know. If you learned anything from any of the techniques that you saw today, let me know about that too. But I'm going to go ahead and leave the link for all the supplies that I used and the names of the fonts and the links to where you can find those. I'll put those in the comments below. There you go, guys. I hope you like it.